Hi, I'm Ethan, and I review stuff, and welcome back to Metal Monday, where I talk about albums that I recommend you listen to so you can start your week off right. Now, by all accounts, 2020 has been a pretty shit year. We basically kicked the year off with a global pandemic that has affected pretty much every aspect of our lives, followed by increasingly violent bouts of civil unrest, political uncertainty, economic stagnation, and in listing the probable disasters that were next in line, people came to the conclusion that the logical next step would be an alien invasion, because pretty much that is the only thing that hasn't happened. Well, I am really pleased to announce that finally the aliens have indeed landed, but these are not the types of aliens that you were waiting for. This is not going to be a repeat of Independence Day, nor is it the new Predator movie. The album that I am talking about is Pigsty's Pig Blood. Pigsty enjoy a bit of well-deserved notoriety within the death metal and grindcore scenes, both of which they are inextricably tied with, mainly because their core sound has always been a mixture of different genres, but always grounded rather firmly in grindcore and death metal, and or a mixture thereof. However, after the release of their 2009 opus Planet of the Pigs, and with no news of a follow-up being in the works, it was largely assumed that the band had just vanished into thin air. They came out in what is a very strong contender for the shittiest year that we have ever seen thus far, with a new full-length titled Pig Blood to remind us that things can always get worse, sure, but they can also get better. At its heart, Pig Blood is a swirling maelstrom of brutal death metal hybridized with grindcore to create an impressive, if head-fuckingly heavy beast. In terms of music, Pig Blood features these churning, really crushingly heavy, grind-influenced, brutal death metal riffs that are there to cave your fucking skull in. And these, more often than not, also evolve into more straightforward death grooves when the songs call for them. These riffs are played over really strength-driven, pounding, simple but straightforward drums, and are laid under these pig squeals that are really low register, guttural, and sort of gurgly, but not straightforward toilet bowl gurgles like you might be expecting from this particular description. So far, this sounds more or less standard for a grind-influenced brutal death metal and or a brutal death grind album, if you will, but the part where Pigsty managed to separate themselves further from their peers is the fact that they have added touches of what I can term alien invasion music on top of what they are already doing. It isn't at all uncommon on this album to hear orchestral bombast or tension-building strings or horn sections or choirs building this cosmic sense of dread and impending doom on top of the metal carnage that is already destroying your ear holes. Unfortunately though, Pig Blood has a very guitar and drum heavy production, as a result of which all these extra elements exist pretty much in the background and are often choked out by the drums and the guitars. Another interesting aspect of the music that Pigsty has constructed on Pig Blood is the fact that all of the drum syncopation falls under the sole purview of the snares. The drums take a really simple and straightforward approach to begin with: kick, snare, and a couple of cymbals, and that is all you need. However, relegating the syncopation duty solely to the snare results in these really interesting beats being thrown at you and breaking up the otherwise really straightforward brutal death metal style rhythms that are flooding this album. That is probably the biggest strength of Pig Blood, the ability of Pigsty to keep things nice and varied while keeping their laser focus intact. The songs on Pig Blood feature one or two riffs that the band goes back and forth between, but they add little variations, be it background elements or nice syncopated rhythms, to keep your interest and to keep this album from sliding into becoming this amorphous mass of pounding brutality without direction or even sense. There are even times when the band band uses the same elements for more than one track, even with the tracks stacked up against each other, but use them at different points and in different ways to separate the tracks from one another. For example, while the first two tracks, Arrival and Awakening, kick off with these alien invasion overtones, the third track, It's All For You Damian, opens with an Omen soundbite of all things. Yes, Omen the movie. Whereas the Arrival and Awakening have used strings and horns to accentuate their alien invasion aura, It's All For You Damian, in order to fit the atmosphere and the subject matter of the song, makes use of more than just one soundbite from the movie and adds ominous Latin sounding chanting on top of it. But the apex of these secondary elements has to be the track Servetti, which kicks off with a very nice, very vibey death groove, mingling with samples from a movie that I don't really recognize and a brass section that moves completely independently of the rest of the music. This intro doesn't really carry over into the rest of the song, but during this section, the disharmony created by the steady riffs and the irregularly blaring horns creates one very nice, very dissonant atmosphere. Another track that's worth mentioning is the Devils Trinity, in which the band display not only their technical abilities, but their strength and riffcraft to the point where you recognize that all the extra bells and whistles, the alien invasion embellishments that came with the songs weren't really necessary, they were just desired by the band. The Devils Trinity is a demonstration of how Pigsty is able to write an interesting song using just the strength of their riffs alone. This track is also notable because, one, it slows down the album to a mid-tempo groove and breaks apart the fast and furious brutal death metal type proceedings quite nicely, and two, the latter part of this track features some really nice glissando tremolo riffs that just slide beautifully. Like, it is an absolute joy to listen to. However, in the final analysis, in an album full of surprises and unexpected turns and in an album full of surprises like this, the best surprise comes last, and the closer, Hail Universe Pigs, is one of the best closers I have ever heard. Not only does this song feature a far more leisurely and far more relaxed sort of groove throughout its length, it also brings all the secondary elements, the choirs, the orchestras, the horn sections, to the forefront without having to forego any of their brutality, bringing the album to a glorious finish where you are just ready to salute your alien overlords who just happen to be muscle-bound pigs. In the world of metal, it is not really uncommon for bands that have been gone for more than a decade to make actual comebacks and make great albums for those comebacks, and I'm happy to report that Pigsty is among the best, because the pigs are indeed back, baby. In a nutshell, Pig Blood is 26 minutes plus of top-notch, brutal, grindy death metal entertainment. It is very fun to listen to, it merits multiple listens, and you notice different little things at each listen, and it is a very tightly written, very skillfully executed full package. And if this was the alien invasion that we have been expecting in 2020, expect this year to have taken a little bit of an upturn. There's a Bandcamp link in the description of this video that leads to this album, as is my custom, and I strongly urge you to click that and go listen to it. And while you're at it, why don't you give the rest of their albums a go, because they are always of good quality. If you have heard of this band before, or if you're a fan of Pigsty, or you hate what they bring to the table, why don't you let me know in the comments below. If you like my content, please like, comment, and subscribe, as it always helps. And before I close this video, I just would like to say, rest in peace, Riley Gale. You will be missed, but you will not be forgotten. Your voice will live on. And as always, hope you have a great week. It's Eason. Peace out.